great day. I think we lost Frank Farraker, but Frank was here for a while, DTC chief here in Greenwich. Nancy Barton running for state senate here in Greenwich. And is Claude here? Oh, there's Claude. Claude Johnson running for assembly here in Greenwich. Both very, very tough races, but it's just, and I know something about that. It's great that you guys have stepped up, and I hope you know, everybody here will support and spread the word. Nancy and Claude are absolutely first-rate, exactly the kind of people that we want in Hartford. So beyond thank you, I don't have a lot to say except for this, which is that we've got 100 days till an election that presents people with a pretty dramatic choice. And people are angry. I'm out there every day. They're concerned. They're worried. They're sad. On our side, they're angry because we didn't do enough. On the other side, they're angry because we did too much. I mean, it is just a crazy political moment right now. But the point is this: we have nothing to be ashamed or apologetic about. Frankly, folks, if I don't get elected, I will look at this 2 years and what we were able to accomplish as staggering in its import to this country. Teddy Roosevelt, 100 years ago, first said we need to do health care reform. 8 presidents tried it. And while I'm not going to say that it was the perfect reform and that there's not lots of uncertainty around it, we did it. We did it with this historic president. We got through a Wall Street reform bill, which was terribly, terribly important in the face of incredible opposition. The economy, you know, and I get beat up on everywhere I go for the stimulus bill, which was absolutely critical to taking an economy in January when I got to D.C., losing 700,000 jobs every month, to an economy that is now adding jobs. 100,000, 150,000 jobs every month, private sector jobs. That's not good enough, and of course this is the political conundrum. We've got 8 million people who lost their jobs, but the situation has turned. The stock market, in the face of this Bolshevik administration, is up 30% since this Bolshevik administration. So we have nothing.
It's because of all the workers that are the Bolshevik.
We really have nothing but pride, I think, in what we have done. But of course, the people that we're going to ask to support us don't feel that universally. So we need to be out there. You need to be making the phone calls, dispelling the mythology. I've been dealing with this for a year and a half. The myths that are thrown out there, the outright lies that are thrown out there by the other side. You need to dispel it. You know, you need to tell the story of how important the things that we've done. And most importantly, and here's why I'm excited, and here's why I'm excited to have Nancy and Claude and Hartford working with those guys. We have a lot yet to do. We will not take up immigration reform, but we must. We won't do it before November, but we must. I mean, you all know that the situation now is about as bad as it can be. Energy. We tried in the House. Even with the destruction in the Gulf, it doesn't seem like we can come together. When I say we come together, it doesn't. Let me rephrase that. The Republicans in the Senate will not allow that forward. Joe Lieberman and John Kerry tried for weeks to get 3 Republicans in the face of the disaster in the Gulf to step forward on an unambitious energy bill. No was the answer, of course, which is always the answer. And education, which is actually where my heart is. We need to build on what this president and this very courageous Secretary of Education have done. That's what's at stake. That's big stuff. And if we go back to a Republican Congress, if you've got a Congressman DiBasella, we will.
How can you? I'm sorry.
Well, I got the reaction I was looking for. Make no mistake, because Pete Sessions said it last Sunday. They are going back to exactly the policies of the Bush administration.
That worked great, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. You know,
that really worked for our country.
DiBasella never left those policies.
Thank you. But look, we need to talk about that. You know, we need to talk about that because, you know, what you will encounter is those crazy free-spending Democrats. My friends, the Clinton administration left office with surpluses that got reversed immediately in the Bush administration when they eliminated PAYGO, when they decided to get into 2 wars, when they decided to add a drug benefit to Medicare, and that's great. We all love that drug benefit. But when you do these things...
Wait. When they decided to give a humongous tax cut for the wealthy.
And when they decided to cut taxes. So I'm in a world where people are in my face, and my opponent is in my face, saying you've got to make the Bush tax cuts permanent. Remember, they expire at the end of this year. Tax cuts on the wealthiest. You got to make them permanent. The cost of that, ladies and gentlemen, is $2 trillion. But they will not support $34 billion in spending for unemployment insurance. This is food on people's table today. This is what, and by the way, my opponent is going to say that we should make the Bush tax cuts permanent at a cost of $2 trillion. And how come you're not dealing with the deficit? I mean, this is the world that we live in. And so to some extent, in as much as you're able to touch 30 people with some semblance of fact and rationality, which do matter in an educated district, we can really make a difference. And we have to, because this is really about, are we going to approach these things with a responsible point of view, with a sense of how challenging these issues are constructively, or are we going back to the Bush administration where you can somehow believe that massive tax cuts and increases in spending helps the economy, helps the fiscal situation. So that's what's at stake. Thank you for all you're doing. We're going to have a tough fight here. And of course, at every level on the ballot, we've got contests. And I can't thank you enough for doing this, because really, we all knew that 2 years ago the future of the country was at stake. That is true today, and that's the adventure that we're embarked on. So thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if there's women in the room who have not signed up yet for Women for Himes, please see me in my clipboard, and we're happy to.
Thank you.